name of God, who is grace and love and communion. Amen. Please be seated. One of my favorite movies is the Tina Fey project, Mean Girls. I love that movie. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. We only wear a ponytail once a week. It's a story of this high school. It could be any high school. It certainly felt like my high school. And there's a group of girls who they're super popular girls. And they also happen to be super mean girls. And they have social control over the entire school. And when one student moves in, this new student, she starts out sitting with the kind of the losers. The arty kids, the kids who they're not very athletic, they're kind of weird, they're into theater. Obviously, I had nothing to relate to in a scenario like that. I love this movie because it has a really clear way of showing how adult life is not totally unlike those kind of cafeteria scenes in high school. You've got your tray, you're looking around, where are you going to sit? It's nice when you've got your in-group, right? You've got your table. I like in the movie how they have a diagram. The new girls, new friends, show her this diagram of the school where different cliques of people hang out. Everything, all the geography is sliced up. You know where you stand. You know if you're inside or outside. There are clear, bright lines around who belongs where. When I hear Luke's gospel from this morning, the Pharisees and scribes, so described in the gospel, make me think a little bit of those mean girls. On Wednesdays, they wear pink. They don't eat with sinners. They certainly don't eat with tax collectors. I imagine Jesus in the cafeteria of first century Palestine, which I know we're now in the stretch category of homiletic metaphors, but stay with me. Where's Jesus going to take his tray? Is he going to go sit with the popular kids over at the religion table? With the jocks? Is he going to go sit with the nerds? Or is he going to go sit at that table full of those sort of loser kids? The ones that just don't fit anywhere. The ones that just can't seem to grab onto anything. We have a real habit as human beings of creating clear, bright lines. Who's in and who's out. Who belongs and where they belong and how that's going to work out. As an evolutionary feature, it's a pretty good one. You want to be able to sort people quickly, to sort others, whatever that other is, so that you can navigate your own safety, make sure that that's in the category of not going to eat you herbivores over here, and could potentially want to eat you for dinner carnivores over here, and these ones look like they could be a tasty morsel after supper over here. It's a feature. But as we grow in society, it becomes something of a bug. That we have already determined in the first few seconds of meeting someone, we in our minds start to make little decisions about where they go, based on all of the things. Things that, if we were to name all of the ways in which we categorize other human beings, we could spend the rest of the day figuring that out, according to gender and race and length of hair and age and how good or not do they smell, and et cetera, et cetera. And for Jesus, those are not the categories. Now we here in 2019, is it already? Oh boy. We are used to thinking of Christianity as following Jesus as being pretty normal. Christianity, for better or for worse, has been a dominant religion in the West for a long, long time. So we're already predisposed to think that Jesus is on the side of the good guys. But if we take ourselves back to the beginning, back to the first time someone might have heard that story. If we imagine, instead of eating with sinners and tax collectors, not categories that we spend a lot of time thinking about today, what if he's like eating with one of those people that owns a, I don't know, check cashing business with the high interest rates? Or that guy that's always sort of panhandling and doesn't seem like he's got all of his marbles together? or me? What if we imagine whatever our clear, bright line of desirable and undesirable is, that Jesus is eating and spending time with and talking to, and worse, listening to people who are on the other side of our own clear, bright line. I know I've got my clear, bright lines. I like to think that I don't, but I know better. But there he is over there with that other guy. So I righteously march up to Jesus in my mind and I say, what are you doing with those people who are on the other side of my political beliefs, or who don't share my concerns, or et cetera, et cetera? What are you doing over there with them? And Jesus tells a story. He says, once upon a time there was a mama bunny and a baby bunny. And the baby bunny said, Mama, what if I ran away from you? And the mama bunny says, well, then I would come and find you. And the baby bunny says, well, what if I transformed into a fish? And the mama bunny says, I would transform myself into a fisherman so I could go out and catch you. And the baby bunny says, what if I transform myself into a tree? She said, well, I would be a bird and I would come and land on you and find you there. Jesus tells not one, not two, but, and we don't get this in our lectionary reading, three stories of God's all-encompassing love. A love that is relentless. A love that includes everyone. Let me break that down a little bit after I've given you the story of the runaway bunny, which is always my favorite image of how God has come to find me, no matter how far I ran, no matter what shape I made myself into. The first story Jesus tells, this parable, is a parable of a shepherd with 100 sheep. The complete set is 100. And one sheep wanders off. Maybe the water isn't so good here and wants to find water elsewhere. He gets lost. It's a big, dangerous world out there, the Judean desert. Hills, crags, places you can fall into, other things that want to eat you. And the shepherd looks and looks. There's a story, an ancient story that rabbis would tell about Moses, who lost a sheep and went out to find, left the rest of his flock. Moses goes out to find the sheep, and when he finds the sheep is drinking from a pool of water. And Moses says, oh my dear, you were thirsty and I didn't give you what you needed. I'm so sorry. You must be tired from wandering here. Let me carry you back. Let me try and do better. I love that story because it demonstrates the truth of relationship. The truth of relationship is that we learn from each other. That there's freedom to pursue, but also relentless commitment to care. Jesus says, my commitment to you, God's commitment to you is relentless. And no matter where you go or what you need, I will find you. And if I have to drag you back, I will do it. I have to say, living out here in the country as we do, or at least relative to my life living out here in the country as we do, the image of Jesus or of a shepherd carrying a sheep over their shoulders is almost laughable. Now that I've seen a few sheep, first of all, they're huge, and second of all, they have no interest in that. I can't even carry the cat on my shoulder, let alone something as big as a sheep. But this idea that God is not going to leave us out in the wilderness and see what we need to bring us back. So that's one story. One sheep brought back, collection of 100 sheep, complete. But what if it's only 10 things? What if it's 10 things like the coin that the woman loses? You know, if you read some biblical scholarship, which I do, you can get a little lost in the weeds of how much was the coin worth? What percentage of her income was it? Was this her life savings? But it couldn't have been because she's a homeowner, etc., etc. This is all really interesting, but I think we get lost a little bit in the weeds when we go down some of those paths. What's important is that she felt it was important to find that one coin. And Jesus says, she lights a lamp, she brushes the house, she looks everywhere until she finds her car keys. I mean, that one coin. In both stories, the person who finds what's lost doesn't just say, one and done. What do? They say, hey, buddies, they send out the group text. I found my lost coin. Drinks at my house tonight. It's a party. I found the lost sheep. Everybody come by. We're having mutton for dinner. That what was incomplete has been made complete. And that God's search is relentless. But here's one more item. The coin, if you were to take out any coin from your purse and look at it, there's an imprint on the coin. There's a face. There's a face of, might be Kennedy, might be Lincoln, but there's a face printed on the coin. It sort of gives you a sense of who the coin belongs to, who it came from, what country it's from. The imprint that we bear is God's own face. The imprint that is indwelling in each one of us is God. God will never, ever allow a part of God's self to be lost. But what Jesus says to these mean girls is God's relentless love is not going to give up on anyone. Not anyone at the losers table. Not anyone at the popular kids table. Not even the mean girls. God's love is all-encompassing. And his radical pursuit of us, each one of us who bears the imprint of God's own face in our hearts, cannot be rubbed off, cannot be lost, can't be damaged. It's permanent. And the only way to be complete is for everybody to be there. Everybody. If it's 10, if it's 100, if it's 7 billion, everybody. The table is not ready until we're all there. I find that to be deeply offensive. I don't want to eat with everybody. I want to eat with the people that I like. I want to eat with the people whose opinions I share. I want to eat with people who don't bear God's imprint, but look a lot more like me. We set up like 10 little mirrors at my dining room table so I can have that kind of conversation. And about the time that we're having conversations like that is about the time that we're not having conversations that involve God. Because God's table isn't everybody's table. And where does that leave us this homecoming Sunday? There are times when each of us has felt like that lost coin, like that lost sheep, like that runaway bunny. And there are times when we're back there with the 99 other sheep, like, what's up, God? What about me? Or those 9 other coins, like, I too bear the imprint of God. How come no one's looking for me? We get lost, we get pulled back. And then that's something to the story. When we found our place, when we have our seat at the table, the job isn't done. The lamp that God lights to find someone else may be you. The broom that God needs to sweep the floor and really look for someone else who's hurting, someone else who's in the wilderness. Maybe that's you. That once we have our place at the table, it's not enough just to sit down, but to go invite someone else. To examine where our clear, bright lines are and see if maybe we can erase them a bit. Who else needs to be here? here. Who else is yearning for a place at the table? Who else has not yet seen the own beautiful face of God in their own soul? Maybe today that's you. Maybe that's someone that you love or know who needs to be reminded that they too bear God's imprint. All of us have a place. It's such a great day. It's such a beautiful day. I couldn't be more delighted to look outside. I couldn't even see the church from my kitchen window this morning across the street in the fog, and look, here we are. What a great opportunity for all of us to sit down together at the table, to have a meal, to connect. This morning, I invite you to say hi to someone that you have never talked to before. I guarantee that there's someone that you have never said hello to before in this room. What a terrific moment. I hate doing that because even though I'm up here talking in public, I'm what my friend calls an outgoing introvert. And going up to talk to people that I don't know very well is an act of will. But how good it feels when someone who's an insider says, welcome. Boy, am I glad you're here. How good it feels to say, wow, I recognize that you're new. Yay, tell me about yourself. Try to avoid asking what you do. Find out what brings you joy. Because if there's one thing that binds all of this together, it's joy. Rejoicing in what is found. And if what we find is that we see in ourselves God's own face, and we see in the other people that we meet also God's own face. Wow, that is cause for celebration. In the name of God, amen.